Yeah, no, that's a ton of jewels that you're dropping on even myself. And a lot of us who are looking to fund a creative project or independent project, excuse me, like yourself. And when it comes to your team of people that you even have to pay, a lot of people don't think about that, whether they're volunteers or whether they're actually having to be paid for their services. Like, talk to our audience about, are there ways to allow people to know that there will be future payoffs, and whether there be royalties and things of that nature, or sponsorships, or typically when you're working in the director's seat or the filmmaker's seat, do you have to pay people up front? Like, give people different scenarios that you've seen, especially for your current project or previous projects, in whether you're able to have people work as volunteers or whether they have to all get paid up front.
That's a great question, and I'm very interested as to see where the audience lands with my answer. But my answer is very strong, very firm, right? Pay every single person that works with you what you can afford, right? So that's a very important factor, right? Because everybody's always shouting about pay everybody. But when we go to pay everybody, some people are saying we're not paying them enough, right? And that's a valid thing. You are allowed to decide your value the same way other people are, right? But your value doesn't change what I have available. Okay, so now if you start trying to bend over backwards, trying to figure out how you're going to pay this person or how you're going to increase this, like you have to start with your budget. I think a lot of people who have not had the opportunities to work with the business side of creativity, right? They just have the flexibility and freedom to just create art. When you get into the business side, you have to start with your budget, right? Set your budget and then approach people based on your budget. I see a lot of times, even myself, when I'm available for freelance work, people will reach out and they'll ask me what my rate is or what my scale range is and things like that. And it's not an effective strategy, right? Because in this industry, rates absolutely do change based on clientele. My rate for Universal is not going to be exactly the same as my rate for, John Smith making a movie from down the street. Like there has to be some flexibility there, or else we do get stuck in a space where the only time movies come out is from the studios because the studios are the only ones who can afford to pay studio rates. So we need to see a little bit of flexibility there. And like I said, that flexibility comes from so you as the producer, you as the director, or whoever is making the decision to approach people to join the crew have to already have your number in mind, your maximum number in mind. So once you go to people, you can say, this is what I'm looking for. This is the rate I have available. Now you can have a very clear dialogue and figure out if this is going to work or if it's not going to work, as opposed to asking people to tell you what their rate is and then being stuck in that position where now you can't really have much of a dialogue. But if you leave that space up to the person when you contact them and say, hey, this is what's available, now they can decide if they want to pursue that dialogue, especially in a way that's going to make sense for your project.
No, man, I definitely need to hear that, just like a lot of other content creators need to hear about the pay now, pay later process, because as you know, with the writer strike and all of that that just happened not too long ago, a lot of people were feeling invalid or invalidated based off of being paid their worth, as you just said. And I'm glad you had mentioned that, like, pay what you can versus trying to hold people off or push people off of you, like you Suge Knight, and they got to come see you after the album
Yeah.
drops and goes double or triple platinum before they get paid. So yeah, I
And I'm
appreciate you
I'm big
being
on I'm big
transparent.
on having
Mhm.
a pay standard, but also having like I said, that flexibility. Also very big on, man, I just drew a blank because two thoughts came to mind. Never mind.
Oh no, you good. You good. That was just gonna segue into, I know we talk to a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners like yourself when it comes to saving and investing. A lot of times there are certain times where you have to take big risk, and so you may have to dip into your savings, or you may have to dibble and dabble into your investments before the payoff or the return is able to manifest itself. Like, talk to people just about you as a filmmaker and as a creative. Do you still invest throughout your creative projects? Do you save throughout your creative projects so you can put towards another creative project? Like, talk to people about your day to day, month to month, even year to year, like spending as an entrepreneur, business owner, and even a producer and filmmaker. Like, how do you save and invest your funds that you actually make on the projects, or even that you make throughout the year to go into those creative projects?
Yeah, definitely. I remembered what I was going to say, so I'll say it real quick. I
Mhm.
believe all rates, I believe there should be a standard rate system, but I also believe everything should be negotiable, right? So, like, just have conversations with people based on how excited you are to be a part of the project and kind of just go from there. Because there are spaces where you could get back end. You could say, yeah, you don't have to pay me up front. You could pay me 10 days later, 30 days later, whatever that might be. On the other side of it, so the first thing I'll say on that is risk measuring, right? Like, it's really hard to it it's almost impossible to accurately assess the value of a risk you're about to take, right? You can only know so much. So if you're saying if I spend this money from my savings and I take this chance and go down to Atlanta, right? Like, this could be the make or break moment. I like to operate with a little bit more measurable information. So part of that I think is the advice piece that's really, really easy for people to follow, even if you ignore everything else. Set a risk limit for the year, right? Like, how many risks are you willing to take for the year, right? Start thinking about what that looks like. And you'll start realizing before you measured it, you were turning every little opportunity presented to you into the let's risk it all moment. And you don't have to do that. Not every moment is the risk it all moment. Some of them you can pass on. Some of them you have to pass on because they just don't work for you in the moment. And then every now and then you have a moment that you should risk it, and hopefully it works out. And if it doesn't, at least you know you got two left. You got one left, or whatever your number ends up being. But definitely do everything in a measured way. I think that's the ultimate message overall for creatives or anybody driven to turn their or to try to have a career in art, or in entertainment. It's be measurable. You have information that you can look at and say, am I doing better today than I was yesterday? If not, why? If so, why?